Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that honestly might sound incredibly dense on paper, a whole set of technical legal updates, but we're gonna unpack this and turn it into a fascinating philosophical journey. We're looking at Indonesia's Supreme Court regulation, PERMA Number 2 of 2026, which is all about sentencing guidelines for terrorism crimes. And sure, on the surface, it's just a framework of matrices and procedural stages, but as you'll see, it's actually about how a society balances national security with the rule of law. It's really about finding the very soul of justice. Because think about it, terrorism doesn't just destroy buildings or claim innocent lives, right? It's literally designed to fracture our collective confidence that we can actually live together peacefully. And while those physical scars are absolutely devastating, the invisible wounds, the fear, the mistrust, the massive social polarization, those frequently endure much, much longer than the physical damage itself. It creates this fractured world where anger and fear just totally dominate our public discourse.
And there's this quote that just perfectly captures the whole thing. It gets right to the heart of the extraordinary dilemma judges face. When a crisis hits, society understandably demands emotional firmness. Victims want immediate retribution, and the state is demanding absolute security. But courts exist precisely because the rule of law must remain calm when society cannot. Justice simply can't be driven by public emotion alone. It has to stand firm.
So let's look at Section 1, the weight of terror, balancing security.
Which brings us to Section 2, Law or Just Luck? The Sentencing Dilemma.
Now, before these new guidelines came along, there was this fundamental, actually, scratch that. It was a massive flaw in the system. Legal scholars have debated this really uncomfortable truth for decades. Inconsistency in sentencing can actually become a form of injustice in itself. Just imagine two defendants who commit highly comparable acts, yet they receive dramatically different punishments without any convincing legal justification. No way that's fair, right? When that happens, public confidence in the judiciary begins to rapidly erode. Citizens inevitably start asking a really dangerous question. Is justice determined by the law, or did that defendant just get super lucky with the judge they were assigned? So, PERMA Number 2 of 2026 is specifically designed to avoid two major extremes. On one side, if you have legal certainty without humanity, well, the system risks becoming this rigid, unfeeling bureaucracy. But on the flip side, if you have humanity without consistency, you risk descending into total arbitrariness. The real challenge here for the Indonesian judiciary isn't just choosing between the two, it's learning how both can coexist within the exact same judicial decision. It's a real game changer if they can pull it off.
That takes us to Section 3, not a judicial calculator, understanding the judicial mind.
What this all means is that uniformity should never ever be mistaken for mechanical justice. A judge isn't expected to become a machine. They aren't just taking facts, punching them into a sentencing formula like some sort of judicial calculator and waiting for a number to pop out. Judicial independence is the cornerstone of constitutional democracy. Instead, think of these guidelines as a map for the judicial mind. They act as a compass, designed to ensure that human judgment, disciplined by legal reasoning, moves in a coherent, consistent direction.
Let's see how this works in practice with Section 4, Understanding Before Punishment, the procedural order.
Okay, this specific sequence carries profound philosophical significance. The regulation is essentially asking judges to begin with understanding, not punishment. So first, they assess culpability. Second, the seriousness of the harm. Third, the appropriate sentencing range. Fourth, aggravating and mitigating circumstances. And only then, finally, at step 5, do they determine the final sentence. The law now completely insists on understanding responsibility first. It's this beautiful reminder that punishment is not the starting point of justice, it's the conclusion.
And finally, Section 5, the ultimate balancing act, security versus humanity.
Just think about the complex, honestly agonizing task a judge faces. How do you actually measure something as painful and devastating as a terror attack? By methodically assessing the harm, looking at the actual damage done, the lives altered, the absolute fear instilled, the judge carefully weighs the true societal damage on the scales of justice. This ensures the response is proportionate and reasoned, not just reactive.
It is quite literally the ultimate tightrope walk. You have to fiercely protect the country's national security, for sure, but you absolutely cannot abandon constitutional values and human dignity to do it. As the source material beautifully suggests, if society becomes monsters to fight monsters, well then the terrorists have already won. The soul of justice lies right there in that delicate balance, hovering over the abyss. Every single sentence pronounced in court is a moral statement about individual accountability and societal protection.
So as we wrap up this explainer, we really have to look at the legacy of PERMA Number 2 of 2026. Because its success isn't just going to be measured by whether sentencing disparities decrease, its true legacy entirely depends on whether it strengthens public trust. In an era that so often rewards outrage over reflection, terrorism seeks to spread fear. But through these structured guidelines, the judiciary is answering with our strongest weapon: reasoned, compassionate, and consistent justice. So the question we want to leave you with today is this: will these new guidelines actually be enough to finally restore public trust in the face of our greatest fears?